News that Transfield, winning the SOBHP project, would choose its Kooragang site for construction was announced earlier this month. Details of the West Tuna gravity-based oil and gas production platform were released, and this week the go-ahead was given for another smaller platform. The total project is worth $1 billion, with construction work to be shared between Newcastle and Port Kembla, the steel topsides to be built at Kooragang. Local engineering firms will benefit from subcontract work, many companies members of HunterNet. The group, which aims to boost local manufacturing and engineering, says it made a concerted effort to help influence the final decision.
HunterNet's role was simply to make the bidders aware of the potential of the area. So what we did a presentation on what HunterNet and the group of companies within HunterNet could provide for them.
With work due to begin next month on the steel topsides, up to 300 employees will find work over the next 2 years. With this contract firmly secured, HunterNet now plans to focus its attentions on the lucrative Mine Hunters contract.
Basically, our aim has been to make them aware of the changes that are happening within the Hunter region and showing them that we have the skills and capability to fulfil their needs.
Melinda Smith, NBN News. At 66, Betty Daniel has become a guardian angel to many. For the last 25 years, she's worked in countless volunteer and charity organisations. She's just been announced Newcastle's Citizen of the Year.
Well, I was shocked and it just comes naturally for me to do things for people and to help and be caring and things like that. So I'm not a person that likes praise, I'm a doing person.
18-year-old Joshua Hainley is Newcastle's outstanding young citizen. Last year he sat for his HSC, represented his school in rugby union and achieved the highest scouting honour, the Queen's Scout Badge.
It involves a lot of different activities and only around about 15% or less. I'm not really sure how many people get it in the Scout movement. So it's a great honour.
Celebrations will be underway across the Hunter tomorrow. In Newcastle, the official Australia Day and citizenship ceremony will be held at the Harbour foreshore from 10:30. In Lake Macquarie, a huge Australia Day program is planned for Spears Point Park from 2 o'clock. The TAFE hotline at the Newcastle campus has been pushed to the limit.
Well, over the last 2 weeks we've averaged from about 1,200 to 2,000 phone calls per day.
There are 6,000 places available for high-demand courses such as computing. The Hunter Institute of Technology has received more than double that number in applications.
At the end of the day, there will be a large number of people who won't be able to get into their first choice of courses. Over the whole year and over this enrolment, there'll be very few people who won't be able to do a course or a related course in the Institute somewhere.
Students continuing their TAFE studies have spent the past 2 days finalising arrangements, but the real rush starts next Monday, when an estimated 23,000 new students will enrol at one of the Institute's 15 campuses across the Hunter. Anyone wanting information about TAFE courses can call the hotline number on 131 225. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
For nearly 3 months, the Knights have been running freely. Training has been a mix of touch footy, weights and creating new set moves. Hours have been spent on integrating the forwards at crucial times into the backline. The Knights started the trend last year with success, and coach David Waite wants to build on it. And even though the players haven't had the opposition thundering down on them, Waite has been placing each of them under pressure. Tomorrow the Knights will meet a team representing Central Queensland at Rockhampton. Queensland Central teams are traditionally big on knocks and tough as teak. Waite has named a 20-man squad for the game, and while he intends to try and get everybody some match fitness, he won't be risking players who are carrying any sort of injury. After the game, the team will have time to relax in the tropical north, which Waite hopes will be a pre-season refresher. Also going around tomorrow, Parramatta. The Eels make their traditional trip to Nelson Bay for a pre-season hit-out. First grade starts at 4:30, reserves at 6:30.
Featuring scenes and characters from a range of theatrical styles, director and co-writer Bill Keir describes the production as a science fiction comedy undergoing an identity crisis.
We were thinking of crediting it as Jules Wayne's Stagecoach to the Centre of the Earth, or alternatively John Verne's Stagecoach to the Centre of the Earth.
Ranging in age from 19 to 30, the youthful cast portrays a variety of characters, some much more desirable and easier to pronounce than others.
Well, we have Professor Galen Fangen molybdenite tungstates von Manganese, who's the most impatient man in the world. He's won the Most Impatient Man in Europe award for the last 20 years and for the next 5 years as well. That's how impatient he is.
Playing Priscilla Priss, the leader of the Morality and Justice League, 19-year-old actress Yetta Abraham says she felt it was important that this role was assigned to a woman.
The director actually rang me up and said we were going to get a man in drag to do it, and he said that quite without thinking he'd made any offensive comment, and I thought that was quite amusing. So,
working in an amateur theatre company, Yetta says she and her co-stars are called on to be jack of all trades.
The actors don't just do acting, they have to do lighting and sound and painting the set. I'm involved in painting the set and costumes.
All proceeds from Thursday's opening night performance will go towards the bushfire appeal. Liz Rogers, NBN News.
This is the 8th council or committee meeting in the last 2 months to try and resolve the issue. 6 councillors saying no to development, 6 saying yes. At issue, 560 hectares of bushland to be rezoned for housing at Fern Bay out of 4,700 hectares in the Newcastle Bight region. In the anti-development case, Councillor Bartlett stated the area, which was used as a bombing range, still represents a threat to human settlement. He noted an example overseas. Other councillors said a new development the size of Raymond Terrace would create jobs, a huge boost for the economy. After more than 2 hours of debate, the poll went as predicted with a split decision. So Mayor Innes Crichton had a casting vote saying yes, the development should go ahead. But what do locals think of the decision?
Start interfering with the sand dunes, you're asking for trouble.
Doesn't matter to me much. Progress has got to go on, hasn't it?
And I guess we're a little bit disappointed because there's been a lot said about keeping that strip natural.
It's taken about 2 years for council to make a decision, but the debate doesn't end here. There is more paperwork to come through. The State Minister for Planning, Robert Webster, must now give his okay, and protest groups have vowed to lobby the minister against the development. Peter Ryan, NBN News. The Knights have named a speedy squad with a couple of enforcers like Butterfield and Muir. With Butts out for a few weeks, Nathan Barnes comes in. It's a competition of slick moves, and the Knights' Johns brothers may surprise a few of the named players in the tournament. But Coach Waite says the Sevens has nothing to do with the 13-man game and will have no bearing on selection for the Winfield Cup. Waite tips Britain, Fiji and Brisbane as the sides to beat on the weekend. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
When Minister for Planning Robert Webster gave permission for an expansion of Gretley Colliery, he also gave approval for the mine to continue using residential streets to deliver their product to the Port of Newcastle. Residents have had to put up with coal trucks rumbling through their suburbs for many years, always assured by council that once new roads were built, including Highway 23, it would stop. But it hasn't.
We just completed about $60 million worth of roadways to carry heavy trucks, and we want those heavy trucks on those properly made roads.
In a confidential meeting last night, Council decided to take the mine owner, the Newcastle Wallsend Coal Company, and the Department of Planning to court to stop the trucks. While there were few heavy vehicles using Wilkinson Avenue today, residents say when there are ships in port, all the colliery is working at its peak, the number dramatically increases.
We have had up to 150 in 1 hour passing by. If there's about 6, one on top of the other, well, then that's when we really get it.
The matter will go to the Land and Environment Court on Friday.
When Leon Berghout began learning about hang gliding a week ago, he never imagined he would be suspended off the ground for this long. For 30 minutes he lay precariously wedged 10 metres above Earth after his first solo flight went wrong.
I was just soaring around and sort of about to land, and I just got caught in this turn and it just did a few 360s down into the trees.
Despite having a radio microphone attached to his helmet, his instructor was unable to talk Leon out of the spin. Luckily, the instructor knew where Leon landed, in the dense bushland of Murdering Gully, just south of the heart of Newcastle. The police rescue squad, ambulance officers and police made a scramble down the steep terrain and reached the Lambton teenager with a ladder. He was cut free from the hang glider and treated for cuts to his arms. The dangerous incident, however, does not mean Leon will make an early retirement from the sport.
I doubt it. It's great fun.
Despite the controversy surrounding the National League side in recent weeks, the players looked relaxed before last night's training session. Caretaker coach Graham Jennings appeared eager to get training underway, waiting for the players out on the park. Arriving for his first full day as player coach, Jennings says his style will involve more interaction with the players. He also feels his appointment has helped ease tension in the club.
The players were putting in 100% every game, but at the back of their mind they knew there was something going on all over the place. So to me, I think it's done a great deal to relieve the situation. They know they can just go out now and just play soccer.
It's just like a new lease of life in the club at the moment, and if we can continue from last night and put it into the games, maybe in 4 or 5 weeks we'll be a few more spots up the table.
The task ahead for Jennings isn't an easy one, considering the team's record of 4 wins, 5 draws and 9 losses.
It's not a good record, and in the coming weeks we play the top 3 teams, so it might get worse, but we're going out there, we're going to take each game as it comes.
The decision of whether or not to place striker Warren Spink on the transfer list will be determined at a special board meeting this weekend.
Warren will attend that meeting to thrash out what has been said in the media and out of the media in the last couple of weeks.
Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
If you decide to come for a browse through the exhibition, be prepared for the unexpected. Just as oils ain't necessarily oils, this seemingly incidental piece has been carved completely from wood, a display of craftsmanship that only a hungry dog wouldn't appreciate. Gallery director Margaret Sivier says many of these artists from the Hunter district have achieved national recognition.
A large number of these artists also, of course, are showing their work in the Sydney galleries and in the art prizes in Sydney.
Some of the works in the gallery's permanent collection have a price tag of several $1,000s. Although many of these artists have established reputations, Ms Sivier says there is some less known talent emerging.
I've also chosen artists who are starting their career who've also been exhibited Valley and elsewhere.
With subjects ranging from the Australian landscape to the comic strip, everyone is sure to find something, if not appealing, then at least thought-provoking. Liz Rogers, NBN News.
Picture Hannell Street as a tree-lined boulevard approaching the city. According to the Honeysuckle Development Corporation, that's just what it will become before the year is out.
Whilst we stand here today, you need a little bit of imagination, but I think everybody will be pleasantly surprised over the next few months.
It's just one of the strategies to lure private investors on board for the revitalisation of Newcastle's hard-bitten harbour side.
Over the next few months you'll see quite a transformation along Hannell Street with islands in the middle and large, almost fully grown trees planted, so that it'll be very spectacular, I feel, and a great gateway, if you like, for visitors and for Novocastrians.
Within the next year, real changes should take shape. Among them, a new Cowper Street bridge to Carrington, a seawall extending past the fishing fleet wharves and begging for a marina development. The historic Wickham Public School will be saved, along with at least 2 of the old Lee Wharf sheds. The $9 million worth of work is just part of the 4-year, $100 million project.
The major work that people will be able to see is the start of the construction of the new Cowper Street bridge, which in fact has started already. We've got Telecom and Shortland Electricity already doing work there. The main contractor for that will be on site within the next couple of weeks. The works that we've just let, there's quite a few local contractors there, and there's quite a few head contractors that will be letting subcontracts in the local area.
The waves at Margaret River are often the biggest in Australia. One mess up on a wave like this can end with some pretty nasty injuries. But on Wednesday, Newcastle's Justin Lee left the surf bleeding and cut after riding a small 1 metre wave.
And I finished off the wave and decided to jump off, mucking around into the water, and as I jumped off I landed head first onto a rock.
After a bone-crunching thud, Justin clambered onto his board and back to shore.
For some reason didn't knock myself unconscious and was able to sort of swim through. It was probably about 200 metres to get to the shore, so there was a little bit of a paddle involved, but when you kind of think you're maybe going to die, you paddle pretty quick.
22 stitches and a handful of x-rays later, he was on the plane back home. Doctors confirmed his jaw is fractured but won't need to be wired. The 24-year-old will now have to spend 2 months without a surf while it heals.
And the fact is, it could have been a lot worse if I'd damaged my neck, or I could have hurt my head even worse than what I have, really. I think I'm pretty lucky, to tell you the truth.
Justin says the accident hasn't scared him off surfing Margaret River again, but he has ruled skylarking out of his surfing repertoire forever. Darren Curtis, NBN News. Each year the numbers of children trialling gets bigger and bigger, and along with the increase in numbers, coaches say the skills are improving tenfold. Leading this weekend's selection panel is former Illawarra Hawks coach Ted Weston. Ted is regarded as one of the best junior coaches in Australia. Part of his success lies in his ability to easily communicate training skills to children. Although selection in a rep side is the highlight of a young basketballer's career, it isn't all glamour. Those selected must be prepared to train hard and travel nearly every weekend.
If a kid does make a commitment to the rep program, the whole family's got to be behind it, because there's a lot of travel and there's an expense involved. But for them, there's the opportunity to go further in the sport, and that's what most of them are looking to.
16 teams will be named tomorrow night. The game was shortened to 47 overs after Canberra failed to bowl the required 50 in the allotted time. Set a chase of 247, the Canberra batsmen knuckled down to racking up the total as quickly as they could. The Newcastle bowlers didn't offer much resistance. Canberra captain Peter Solway allowed to make easy runs. He and partner Michael Frost pushed the total along quite nicely. Frost was dropped though twice within the space of as many overs, and the Newcastle fieldsmen were quickly losing their humour. And in the 15th over, Philip Stambridge finally got what he'd been looking for. Frost scored 33 off just 43 balls. The defending one-day champions then had a 5-run and over task and weren't about to throw the cup away with foolish play. Newcastle selectors point to the breakdown of their two leading pace bowlers as the main reason for the loss. The players arrived at the club for the trip down to Sydney this afternoon, all in uniform and all with a look of confidence. For the past 2 weeks, the off-field dramas have stolen the limelight and the team looked relieved to be finally getting on with the job. However, club stalwart David Lowe will be staying at home. He wasn't picked in the starting squad or on the bench. Some are speculating it's a payback for backing previous coach Jim Foley. However, stand-in coach Graham Jennings says he was left out purely on professional grounds.
I've tried to plug up a few of the holes through the middle, strengthen the defence a little bit, and just opted for a bit more up in the striking power.
Jennings isn't phased either with the prospect of playing midfield and coaching.
We've stressed all along that it's going to be a team thing now. I'm out there making the decisions, but when it comes down to it, the whole team will have an input.
He says the team appears to have a renewed enthusiasm and are confident of a win against the third-place Sydney United.
They know they're playing for their positions now. If someone of the calibre of David Lowe can be dropped, well, they know anyone can be dropped now. So those 13 players and the special 11 on the field know they're playing for their positions.
John Pine didn't have a mechanical worry in the world. He was more concerned about the group of cars hounding him for the lead in the 40-lap final. They were all fender to fender until Lismore's Ross Brim spun out, forcing a restart. The stoppage must have let the adrenaline settle a bit because it then became a two-car race between John Pine's Camaro and Alan Baker. Pine got the better of the tussle, taking the checkered flag half a car length ahead of Baker, John Brown and Dubbo's Paddy Ward.
Red Nose Day has become a popular tradition. For one day of the year, people from all walks are prepared to look a little silly to support a serious cause. Every year, sudden infant death syndrome kills hundreds of babies. Last year, there were 9 deaths in the Hunter alone. Valuable research is underway, including sleep studies at Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital, the findings helping to reduce the risks of cot deaths. More than $118,000 was raised during the Hunters' last Red Nose Day. Coordinator of the SIDS Drop-In Centre, Sue Ellen Robertson, today presented patron Lady Mayoress Margaret McNaughton with a special certificate of thanks. The presentation coincided with the national release of an educational video reducing the risks of SIDS. Funded through the Red Nose Day, the video is designed for health professionals and new parents.
It's very important to be aware of the risk factors. Research has shown that the risk of sudden infant death syndrome has been dramatically reduced because of the Reduce the Risk campaign.
Last month, Gosford was engulfed by flames. On the worst day, January 7th, more than 1,000 firefighters faced 17 separate blazes. For 3 days, Gosford was isolated, with road and rail access cut. Around 50 buildings were lost, the damage bill totalling more than $5 million. Bill MacArthur was the man controlling this crisis situation.
They were running so hard that we had to evacuate firefighters out of the area. It was just too dangerous to leave them in there. They were spotting for 3 and 4 kilometres.
In the weeks since the fires, Bob has been documenting information for the state coroner, including fire ignition points, damage costs and sites of deliberately lit blazes. The fires which ravaged Gosford destroyed 50,000 hectares of land, an area bigger than Sydney's central business district. Now begins the massive operation of regenerating bushland and rebuilding people's homes and livelihoods.
As far as the homes are concerned, councils waived the building fees and they're going to fast-track all the applications.
Imagine it'll take me 10 years to get back. It took me 20 years to get to this point before.
Bob and partner Hillary lost their Mount White home and petrol station in the fires. Their business also served as the local post office and school bus stop.
I'm only starting to realise now what we've lost. I don't think it hits you straight away. You still get up every morning and think, oh gosh, I should have got that or I should have done that. Mount White is a community now that is split. Some people living at Mooney, some people further down. We're lucky we had friends we could stay with here.
Bob prefers not to dwell on what was, instead looking to the future. But one thing that's disturbed Bob was his forcible eviction during the fires, believing local knowledge in times of emergency is invaluable.
In this town here, the people who refused to be evicted saved their properties. The people who were law-abiding and were evicted lost their property.
Bill intends raising his concerns with local fire authorities. But for now, most of Bill and Hillary's energies are concentrated on rebuilding and rejuvenating a community shattered by the fires. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
The council meeting was packed with protesters, angry that an abattoir could be considered within 1.5 kilometres of established homes. One speaker relayed an emotional plea from her daughter. Tempers flared, the meeting at times getting out of control. The plan is to build a meatworks at Whittingham about 10 kilometres south of Singleton. It's a $20 million project, processing up to 800 head of cattle a day, creating around 600 jobs. No one can argue it's potentially a huge boost for the local economy. But protesters believe it could create environmental problems, in particular a bad smell, and in turn drop property values in the area. In giving its okay, council gave this assurance. But local protesters won't accept any more council talk and have vowed to keep fighting. They've already spoken with solicitors and are now hoping to block the development through the courts. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
"2,000 hunter miners gathered at Cessnock today for the first of the meetings to be held throughout the state and in Queensland. The miners are anxious about the effects the latest round of price cuts for Australian coking coal will have on their livelihoods. Japanese steel mills have cut the prices they pay for coal by another 8%. Miners claim that's about the same as them asking for a $500 a week pay rise. Production costs will have to be cut, jobs may go. The Cessnock meeting gave its unanimous support for a plan to travel to Canberra to seek federal government intervention in coal price setting. National President of the CFMEU, John Maitland, says the price cuts will have far-reaching effects for communities and businesses supporting the coal industry.
There wouldn't be too many families together if the husband was going to be away 7 consecutive nights and then home 7 consecutive days.
Closer to the coalface, miners also condemned the introduction of 12-hour shifts being tried in Queensland. They've voted to take disciplinary action against the workers involved at the new Ensham mine. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.